선생님들 반갑습니다. 어제에 이어서 다시 오늘 재밌는 공부하도록 할게요. 저는 충주분원, 북부분원 근무하는 연구사 류효숙이라고 하고, 네, 어제에 이어서 오늘 두 번째 시간입니다. 어제 연수는 만족스러우셨는지 모르겠어요. 저희가 오늘 이제 연수 마무리하면서 이따 설문조사를 할 건데요. 그때 좀 잘 협조해 주시고 좋은 의견 주시고요. 사실은 어제도 말씀드렸지만 저희 강사님께서 새로 오셨으니까 사실 처음에는 저희 충주분원, 북부분원의 아주 작은 학습 공동체 정도로만 생각을 하고 연수를 계획했는데 갑자기 이렇게 충북 전체 국제교육원 선생님들께서 같이 하게 되셔가지고 이게 판이 커졌습니다. 그래서 준비한 게 별로 없는데 하긴 근데 다른 준비보다도 강사님의 좋은 강의가 가장 큰 준비라고 생각을 해서 저희는 네, 지금 당당하게 하고 있고요. 어제 세계시민 교육 전반적인 이해와 그리고 국제교육원의 어떤 큰 흐름, 어떤 세계적인 추세 이런 것들에 대해서 저희가 배웠고요. 오늘은 그럼 이걸 어떻게 구현을 할까, 어떻게 우리의 교육과정으로 녹여낼 것인가에 대해서 말씀을 듣도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 강사님은 아태교육원 지선미 전문가이십니다. 지금 원어민 선생님들 많이 들어오셔서 제가 잠깐만 영어로 말씀드릴게요. Welcome back. Nice to see you here again, teachers. I'm Ryu Hyo-suk from Chungju and Bukbo branch. So I'm wondering whether all you teachers were satisfied with the previous lesson on the global citizenship education. It sounds very difficult. So there were much more teachers than I expected. So I'm nervous, but I'm so honored and very grateful about it. But at the same time, I feel more burdened to make this program more helpful for all of you. Okay, today we are having another specialist, Ji-seon-mi, from the Asia Pacific Center of Education for International Understanding. I know it's a related organization with the UNESCO, right? So she's lecturing about application and practice of global citizenship education. I wish it will be very helpful for understanding or performing global citizenship education in your field. 그래서 오늘 강의와 함께 이제 필요한 질의응답 대부분 네이티브 선생님들이시기 때문에 토론을 도와주실 새로운 원어민 진행자 모시겠습니다. 충주분원의 앤드류 존슨 선생님 모실게요. Today we are having another English native host, Andrew Johnson from Chungju branch. Please welcome me with a big hand. Mr. Johnson, please come out.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hello.
Okay. Now I'm going to sing for an hour. No, actually, that's not the truth. Nice to see you all again. Today, you know, we have our guest, Ji-seon-mi. Ji-seon-mi, as a program specialist, has been working at the Asia Pacific Center of Education for International Understanding since 2013. She has developed educational materials and implemented several capacity building trainings on education for sustainable development and global citizenship, indicated as one of the targets of the UN's Sustainable Development Goals. And if you are an old teacher here, not a new teacher, I believe she is a familiar face. Maybe we met before a couple months ago. So nice to see you again. So today we will have some lecturing, some listening, and Seon-mi, if you want to give us a break in the middle, we'll think you're the best teacher ever. But it's your choice, no pressure. After some lecturing, we have some time to ask questions and have some open discussion. So during the lecture, you can think of some questions that you want to ask. And then I forget many things. So please, before we go, Youngwon, William, we have to do a survey. So don't let me finish if we didn't do the survey. Everyone, you have to yell at me, please, because I forget many things. Okay. I think that's everything. So I will open it for Sunmi to begin her presentation. So welcome.
Thank you, Andy, for your wonderful introduction. First, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so now you can see my presentation, right? So hello, everyone. I'm Sunmi Ji from the Office of Research and Development at UNESCO APSEU. It is such a pleasure to meet you all and join this wonderful workshop. Today, I'm here to introduce good practices and pedagogy that you can refer to design your own class, integrating global citizenship education. I hope all of you are well and safe in this challenging time. It is such a pity that we can't see each other face to face, but I will try my best to deliver the presentation as interactively as possible and to make it very intensive because we have only 90 minutes. And I also would like to ask for your active participation throughout the workshop. And as Andy mentioned, I can see some familiar faces who participated in my previous workshop. Good to see you again. And I'm not gonna repeat my previous presentation to avoid overlapping, but some parts which are key to understanding GCED, such as its concepts and learning domains, I should repeat some of them, but I will do it very briefly in the beginning. All right, then let me start. Do you think that you are a global citizen or not? As I want to see your answers, I'm going to use a real-time interactive survey tool. Please go to www.menti.com and use the code number 4240361. You can access it through either mobile phone or your computer. Yeah. Everybody is on the same page? Okay, it's interesting. Yeah. I can see that the majority of you think that you are global citizens. Then why do you think that you are a global citizen? Can you tell me the reason why you think like that? Can you? Anyone who can tell the reason why you think that you are a global citizen?
I would consider myself a global citizen because I live on this planet and I live here with other humans. So it would be best to figure out the ways to keep everyone happy, healthy, and at peace with each other, but also to consider the fact that what I do here affects the world and it also has an effect on me. So even if I don't want to be a citizen, I kind of am affected by it regardless.
Thank you, Tabitha. And anyone else? Luke?
I think our job in particular, we've all traveled from different parts of the world to come to Korea to teach a language to allow other people to communicate also across the world. So yeah, I think our job lends itself more toward the global attitude.
Yeah, that's true. Anyone else? No one? Okay, then how about the opposite side? I can see one person who answered that he or she is not a global citizen. Why did you think that you are not a global citizen? Can you tell me the reason? Who was it? Is it a
That,
secret?
that was me. I accidentally misclicked. My bad.
Okay. Then how about the answer? I'm not sure. Why do you think? Why are you not sure about whether you are a global citizen or not? Can you tell me?
I put that I'm not sure if I'm a global citizen because sometimes I feel like I'm in my own bubble and the only like interaction I have with what's happening in other countries is like little blurbs from the newspapers now and again. So for me, I need to go back to what is exactly a global citizen. So that's the reason why I put I'm not really sure. Yeah.
So now we are going to explore what global citizenship is and who global citizen is. And anyone else? Anyone else who wants to share your opinion?
Yeah, sure.
Ricardo?
Yeah, I wasn't sure either because it's the kind of thing where like you try and make a difference in the world, I suppose similar to Simone, but like, you know, you try and recycle, try and not waste water, but it's like, to what extent can you really change the world just yourself? It's kind of difficult to, you know, solve things like climate change by, you know, recycling a couple of plastic bottles a week. It's kind of...
Right, you are right. That everything starts from the small thing, right? So there will be something that we can do together. So, okay, then let's go back to the presentation. So, what does it mean to be a global citizen? Global citizen is aware of the wider world and has a sense of her role as a global or world citizen, and he or she respects and values diversity. And a global citizen has an understanding of how the world works, and he or she is passionately committed to social justice. And a global citizen participates in the community at a range of levels from local and global. Also, a global citizen works with others to make the world a more equitable and sustainable place. And they take responsibility for his or her actions. So it seems like it's not that difficult to be a global citizen as we are closely connected in this world. And I really want you to give an emphasis on these kind of competencies when you teach your students. So far, we talked about who a global citizen is. Then now let's move to the concept of global citizenship education, as we are teachers, right? By the way, GCED is an official abbreviation of Global Citizenship Education. So let's call it short GCED, okay? So to date, a consensus about the definition of GCED and global citizenship has not yet to be reached, but I'm sharing its general concept here with you. Global citizenship does not entail any kind of legal status. It refers more to a sense of belonging to the global community and a common sense of humanity with its presumed members experiencing solidarity and collective identity among themselves and collective responsibility at the global level. Global citizenship can be seen as an ethos or a metaphor rather than a formal membership. I want to show you a short video clip on GCED.
We live in a globalized world. People, places, and economies are increasingly interdependent and interconnected. Ongoing global challenges are impacting all. Solutions require thinking and acting beyond national borders. Young people want an education that is relevant to their world and aspirations. Global citizenship education can help us learn to live together in peace. It nurtures respect for all, a sense of belonging to common.
Sorry. Actually, I want to make it full.
We live in a globalized world. People, places, and economies are increasingly interdependent and interconnected. Ongoing global challenges are impacting all. Solutions require thinking and acting beyond national borders. Young people want an education that is relevant to their world and aspirations. Global citizenship education can help us learn to live together in peace. It nurtures respect for all, a sense of belonging to common humanity based on human rights. It helps learners think critically, understand the interconnections between the local and the global. It builds motivation to engage and assume active roles to resolve global challenges, and contributes to a more just, peaceful, tolerant, and sustainable world. Global citizenship education can be delivered in schools in a variety of subjects, but also outside of school. Community associations, authorities, the media, family. It concerns everybody. Education fosters global citizenship. When students learn about global issues and how these impact on their communities, when young people are given the opportunity to learn from each other, and when they're taught to respect each other's differences and opinions. Global citizenship education is most effective when teachers engage in participatory approaches to learning and are equipped with appropriate teaching materials. Global citizenship education is most likely to succeed when all girls and boys feel respected as human beings and are encouraged to participate in school life. We can all be global citizens.
Okay, understanding the concept of GCED itself is also very important, but I thought that sharing good practices and pedagogies would help you more than just understanding the concept and definition of GCED. So today, I'm going to focus on how to teach and how to integrate GCED into your class specifically. So to dive into the pedagogy of GCED, we need to first understand the three learning dimensions of GCED: cognitive, socio-emotional, and behavioral. As you can see from the image, cognitive demonstrates using a brain, and socio-emotional is more likely to be using your heart, and the behavioral is related to action for change. What would be the most challenging dimension? What do you think? And can you tell me your opinion? Which dimension would be the most challenging? Yes, please.
Maybe for myself, cognitive might be a bit of a challenge because just simply being over here, teaching in a second language group, I'm probably going to try and appeal more to socio-emotional and behavior as I think a better way of communicating, because cognitive is kind of a higher level, I think, that I would like to probably dive a lot deeper into if I were at the same, if they were at a higher level of English, I think.
Mhm. Wow, that's very interesting, Tabitha. Thank you. And anyone else? No one?
We have very shy students.
Yeah, you are shy. Don't be shy. So yeah. Yes.
Oh, well, I guess I was just thinking behavioral might be a bit challenging for us at the Jingbu Center because enacting change, like behavioral change, usually takes like seeing the students multiple times, and most of our programs are very short or a single day.
That's true. Yeah, thank you for sharing. So among the 3 learning dimensions of GCED, actually, I think the socio-emotional dimension is quite difficult to be well addressed during the class because it has to do with the formation of attitudes and values. You know, information and knowledge, which is cognitive dimension, can be acquired through just a classroom setting, like classroom learning, but values, belief systems, and attitudes are formed through accumulated experiences and socialization processes. So I thought that the socio-emotional dimension, it is quite difficult to be achieved. The cognitive dimension of GCED can be addressed through conventional classroom learning combined with learners accessing and analyzing other sources of information. To address the socio-emotional and behavioral dimensions, however, those dimensions, the pedagogy has to be holistic. Information and knowledge have to be combined with practice. Learners should be provided with actual experiences and opportunities to develop, test, and build their own ways, views, and values, attitudes, and to learn how to take actions responsibly. And participation in community activities and opportunities to interact with people of different backgrounds or of different views are very necessary. And the core values have to be reflected and practiced in the learners' daily lives as well. I would like you to go to www.menti.com again and participate in a quick survey once again. Which learning dimension of GCED do you usually cover in your classes? Interesting. Yeah. Many of us are covering cognitive dimension in our class. Okay. Yeah, very interesting result. Actually, non-cognitive domains like behavioral, socio-emotional are as equally important as the cognitive domain. Within the education community, there is a growing trend to complement the discourse of cognitive skills with that of socio-emotional skills. to complement the discourse of skills and competencies for employment and the job market with that of skills and competencies for learning to live together. GCED should be relevant to today's demands and shift as well. And I just want to highlight that balancing these three dimensions of learning dimensions of GCED in your teaching would be very important. I know that the cognitive area often comes first and is mainly dealt in the class. But if you really want to integrate GCED into your class, into your teaching, you also need to include the socio-emotional and behavioral dimensions in your teaching as well. Okay, then what would be the most effective pedagogy for facilitating those three learning dimensions of GCED? Let's take a look at a short video on this.
The nature and goals of global citizenship education promotes a transformative and holistic approach to teaching, and therefore it requires a more dynamic and transformative pedagogy. Global citizenship education observes 6 pedagogical principles. These comprise of pedagogical shifts from conventional to transformative teaching and learning. Dialogue and participation. Create a learner-centered environment where learners and teachers can discuss and learn together. Holistic and interdisciplinary. Increase relevance of education by incorporating real-life scenarios into learning. Multimodal. Engage students holistically, the mind, the heart, and the body through different learning strategies. Values formation. Teaching global citizenship education should not only focus on learning about facts, but also promote the core values and help learners internalize them. Critical empowerment. Global citizenship education aims to enable learners to critically respond to situations and take action. Applicable and relevant. Introducing relevant knowledge and skills enables learners to apply what they have learned to their daily lives. Above all, it is important for the teachers to utilize the 6 principles and play the role of facilitators in their classroom.
So as you watched, there are 6 pedagogy principles of GCED. First one, to facilitate dialogue and participation, teachers should engage in dialogue with learners and encourage them to take part in dialogue with one another. It means teachers and students can discuss issues and learn things together as partners, co-creators, and co-learners of knowledge. Second, holistic and interdisciplinary pedagogy means that learning should take place from many different angles, using various ways of learning, which goes beyond the walls of the classroom. Third, it is also important to use multimodal learning strategy that involves the sense such as sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch when you teach. Fourth, teachers should not only focus on teaching new facts, knowledge, and information, but also help them form and develop values such as empathy, justice, compassion, respect, and non-violence. Fifth, learners should be empowered to critically respond to the local and global challenges by taking actions. And lastly, GCED promotes learning closely related to real life issues, daily life issues, so that learners can be the future agent of change locally and globally. So I also would like to highlight the pedagogy shift needed in teaching GCED. Before, the conventional pedagogy was focusing on teaching to inform. But now, these days, it changed to teaching to transform. And also before, learner was considered as receivers of knowledge only. But now, learners are considered as both receivers and co-creators of knowledge. And before they are single discipline or subject area in teaching. But now we use interdisciplinary approaches to inquire and investigation. And before they are culture of competition and individualism, but now we emphasize culture of collaboration and collectivism. And before we were highlighting memorization of facts, and they were only shallow decision-making processes. But now we emphasize critical thinking and very informed decision-making process. And all right, then how can we effectively deliver GCED in classroom? To effectively teach GCED to learners and foster GCED core values, teachers should be willing to become a facilitator. I want to really highlight the word facilitator. As a facilitator, teachers should frame a lesson as a series of exercises through which students progressively develop their understanding and ultimately become independent in the learning process. So also the teaching and learning practice should be inclusive, participatory, and learner-centered. Yeah, that's of course, and it should be, it can adopt like project-based learning, participation project, collaborative work, experiential learning, and service learning as well. Most importantly, the learning environment should be safe, inclusive, and engaging. And how about assessment? The assessment should be like formative. So we should evaluate the process of learning, not the result of learning itself. Okay. So far we learned about GCED pedagogy, and now I would like to introduce some local classroom practices. This video clip is about GCED class on human rights in Korea. Let's take a look at it.
This is a classroom of third grade students at Dongsin Elementary School located in Suwon, Korea. Today, the students have a class on global citizenship education. Ms. Iwon Hyang, the homeroom teacher for class 1 of grade 3, has been offering global citizenship education continuously for a year by using the time allocated for creative experiential learning. mostly by giving GCED lectures on days such as Memorial Day set by UN. Children learn about the main topics of GCED, including peace, human rights, justice, respect for diversity in life, sustainable development through various experiential activities. With upcoming Human Rights Day on December 10th, the aim of today's class is to let students think and learn about what human right is and what they can do as global citizens to promote rights of all. The class begins with an activity designed to let students think about being different and wrong. Ms. Lee presents several familiar pictures like cars and bicycles to students, encouraging them to think about what is different and what is wrong.
자전거 여러분들이 정말 자전거 타고 있죠. 지금부터 선생님이 여러 가지 종류의 자전거를 보여주려고 해요. 근데 자전거가 어떤 모양인지 이것과 어떻게 다른지 틀린 것인지 다른 것인지 한번 보도록 할게요.
As Ms. Lee shows the pictures of different types of bicycles, students start to discuss freely on how the pictures are different from each other.
이 자전거 어때요? 색깔이 달라요? 오, 빙고! 맞아요. 짠! 맞아요. 두 번째 자전거에 보조바퀴가 달렸네요. 와, 엄청 잘 찾네. 그렇지. 보조바퀴가 달려있네요. 자, 보조바퀴가 달려있어요. 자, 다음 거 보여줄게요. 짠! 그러네요. 오, 그런 것도 찾아냈어. 역시 관찰력이 뛰어내. 자, 선생님이 이렇게 자전거가 서로 다른 모습들을 보여주었어요. 여러분들 쉽게 찾아냈어요. 그러면 이번에는 사람의 모양을 보여줄 건데요. 네, 볼게요. 일단 이 사람과 어떻게 다음 장면이 달라지는지 한번 보도록 할게요. 볼까요? 짠! 치마 여자만 입어요? 네. 아, 진짜? 그치, 남자도 있지? 맞아요. 다른 나라 전통 복장 중에 치마도 있어요. 자, 다음 그림 볼까요? 짠! 어른이긴 한데, 그러네, 맞아요. 뚱뚱해졌어요. 그죠? 맞아. 자, 다음 볼까요? 짠! 지팡이를 짚고 있는 노인이에요. 그렇죠? 짠! 네. 이 그림은 다리가 불편한 이죠, 그죠? 자, 위에 있는 자전거들은 모두 달라요. 그렇죠? 그럼 틀린 걸까요? 왜? 모양이 다르잖아요. 아, 종류가 달라요. 근데 뭐라고요? 내 사진? 아, 다 똑같은데 다른 거예요. 그렇구나. 내 사격이? 아, 똑같은 자전거인데 색깔이나 모양이 달라요. 그렇구나. 그러면 이 밑에 사람들은 어때요? 은성이?
연구장님, 미완회 운영관리 계획이라는 공문이 왔는데,
네, 서진이?
네, 이건 조은경 연구장님이에요.
사람이에요. 그렇구나. 우리가 오늘 배워야 할 것은 바로
내실 있게
틀림과 다름에 대한 차이에 대해서 거기서부터 시작을 해요.
2021년 미완회 운영관리 계획을 알려드리는
대해서 배워볼 거예요.
After letting the students freely express their thoughts on the pictures, Ms. Lee shows a short documentary video on human rights to students. This video shows how human rights have been understood.
Okay. Next, I would like to show you a short video clip of English class in Togo. They are also learning about human rights issues. Let's take a look at it.
My name is Ablangia Buigo. I am a high school English teacher in Aote Grammar School. I plant to integrate global citizenship education into my English class and choose the topic bus boycott in Alabama and the issue of human rights. The class is composed of 4 parts. First, the students brainstorm and learn about what human rights are. Then in groups, they discuss on what kinds of human rights they have and share them with the rest of the class. Next, the students read an English article on bus boycott in Alabama, and as a class, they answer comprehension questions to test their understanding. The class ends with a discussion on the situation of human rights in Togo. The class is designed to enable students to have a clear understanding of human rights, to appreciate the value of human rights, and to defend their rights as well as others in case of violation of these rights. So this morning, we're going to discuss some issues. Most often, we used to talk about rights. Somebody may say, I have right to this one. Now, exactly, can you tell me what a right is? What is your right? What is a right? How can we define it? Yes, lady. Oh, very good. For her, a right is a moral claim to something. Oh, I like your answer. Good, yes? Okay, so I would like you in your group to mention some of the rights that you have. In your group, you choose a secretary, and on a piece of paper, you put some of the rights that you have. So I need volunteer group to share with us their work. In our group, we had mentioned some of the rights of women, like right of life, right of youth, right. In some classes, I have more than 100 students. Large size, the class is certainly a challenge to me, but I try to find ways to make the class participatory and active as much as possible.
Okay, we watched 2 video clips. One is a class in Korea, and the other one is a class in Togo. It seems like the infrastructure and classroom environment are very different between Togo and Korea, right? Korean teacher used many different ICT devices, and it was a quite small class size. In contrast, in Togo, they didn't use any ICT, and the class size was larger. There are huge differences, but I want to highlight that their key message they wanted to deliver through their class was the same. Human rights issue, and also fundamentally they used similar teaching methodology, similar pedagogy in teaching, such as encouraging students to engage in the class actively. And it was a learner-centered approach, and it was also inquiry-based strategy, right? So that's why we can say that they are implementing GCED in their classrooms, regardless of classroom setting, environment, or infrastructure. Can you share impression about these 2 videos? Did you get any impression from these two videos?
I guess I'll go ahead and start. I did like how they were trying to approach the subject. There were clearly two different levels of kids, two very different age ranges, and they did handle it very differently. The first one was just with pictures, like what's difference in the silhouettes, what's differences in the bikes, and it was very basic information such as colors, training wheels, sizes. But then in the other lesson, it was far more complex things to dive into. And it was something that they didn't really have too much prompting with. It was, okay, what's a right? Write down your rights.
Yes, right. The level of the classroom was different as well. And look.
Yeah, I was going to say in the Korean lesson, I liked how they used the simple concept of bicycles, the concept of bicycle to then expand upon the much more difficult to grasp concept of equality among humans and what it means to be a human, even if they look different, which I thought was quite an interesting way to bring such a complicated topic to much younger students.
Yes, that's true. Thank you for sharing. And anyone else? Okay. So as another effective pedagogy for teaching GCED, I would like to recommend community-based learning. It is quite similar with place-based learning, which is an approach that connects learning with communities to increase student engagement and boost learning outcomes, impact communities, and finally promote understanding of the world around us. Let's watch a video clip on community-based learning.
Rather than we as kind of a space within the community, a location where there is a responsive community that would work with you as an instructor, as a teacher, as an NGO worker, where you could go into the community, you could take your students with you, and maybe even sort out a kind of a space, a study space or a workspace in that community, maybe a temple or a community hall where the students could work, and create a kind of a platform where students can rehearse global citizenship, looking at the issues faced by that community, maybe a thematic issue related to citizenship, to issues in the community. Could be waste management, could be environmental degradation, any kind of issue within the community that is visible and the community is willing to talk about it. So setting up a kind of a laboratory in the community with the correct space and a friendly community is important. So once we have this platform, we can execute the process. So what does the process of community-based learning involve? Basically introducing the children to the community and to the team, the GSET team. The team, as I said, could be environmental degradation, waste management. It could be attitudes towards foreign workers, negative attitudes towards foreign workers, etc. Now, once they've been introduced to the site and the community, they need to engage with the community. This engagement is really, really important. They need to interact, maybe using tools such as interviews. They could actually work with the community, maybe engage with them, experience what the community is experiencing, as well as investigate using some research skills that the teacher might have taught them, or tools like photography, documentation, etc. Once they've collected this data, they can actually go back to the classroom, or they could work in that community space to critically reflect on that data and to evaluate what is the cause of this issue that has arisen in the community. What is the cause and effect? What is the impact on the community? Why did it happen? can and the instructor or the teacher or the facilitator needs to move the students on, which is very important in citizenship education, a plan of action on how they can intervene or facilitate in a way so as to alleviate the issue that the community is facing. It could be a very small thing, a really small input or intervention on the part of the students. And it's very important that they communicate their findings or they use that intervention to give something back to the community, which would improve their situation, or share it with others for the purpose of, say, awareness raising, so that there's an element of action after the investigation and the evaluation. Okay, we're going to look at
So can you introduce any interesting points about Cheongju or any emerging issues in Cheongju to me? Do you have any recommendation about Cheongju or anything? It seems like you are not yet familiar with Cheongju. Actually, you can take advantage of geography or the authentic culture of your community, Cheongju, when you teach. So I would like you to utilize your place when you teach at your class. So let's have a 5-minute break until 3:28, okay? And then we will get back. Okay. Okay. So is there anyone who wants to share your lesson plan with others? Okay, Angie.
Okay. I was kind of inspired by them talking about human rights. So the topic, I'm an elementary teacher, so I think very young kids maybe need help identifying what a violation of human rights is or what a human right to them might be. So my objective is that students are able to identify human rights violations using some film parallels. So I was thinking about kind of not so scary examples for younger children. And I thought of 3 movies. I really like Disney Pixar. So Toy Story, I think can kind of be used as an allegation for, not allegation, I don't know what word I'm thinking of. A story for kind of attitudes of immigration, immigrants, allegory, that's the one. I lost that thought mid-thought. Immigration and the attitudes towards immigrants, people who join a group late. In the movie, Buzz Lightyear joins the group later and Woody's very jealous, and it creates some conflict. A Bug's Life, the worker ants do all the work for the grasshoppers. It's not fair or just representation, so it deals about a government that represents you well. WALL-E, the role of technology in our world. Pollution, human progress, how far is too far. So they're very cute, but we can learn something from them. I did not finish everything, but I think for the evaluation, there are many things you can do, but I think evaluating students before they finish the movie and letting them write the conclusion for the movie or role play so they can kind of rectify the human right violation that's happening in that film and say how they would want to be represented in that scenario. And they could maybe compare with the film after presenting it or something like that. Did not finish everything, but that was my idea.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Yeah. Actually, the 3 movies that you chose for the class, I like them. I like them all. By the way, what kind of pedagogy do you would like to use for this lesson?
Well, I'll show you my board. I did every section,
Wow.
but pedagogy. I ran out of thoughts. Right, so
Yeah, that's
sorry.
wonderful, Andy.
Yeah, I can't answer that.
Thank you. And Luke, you want to
Yes.
say something?
Yeah, so my plan was I would ask the students, what countries do you not know? What countries are you unfamiliar with? And then we would pull them all together and I would ask the students to, and this would be over a couple of weeks or maybe longer, to put together a 5 or so minute presentation about that country. I wanted ones they aren't familiar with, maybe in South America or in Africa, so the students just don't pick America or the UK or China, countries they would automatically be familiar with. And the objective would be to learn about the culture or the history or problems within that country. What problems do they face? And then to give a short presentation. For the evaluation, it would be ask students what they have learned about other cultures that they did not research. What did they learn listening to other people? And that to also ask them what in these other cultures could or should be brought back to Korea.
I see. That's really interesting. So oh yeah. I like the lesson plan very much. Thank you, Luke.
No
And
worries.
anyone else? Okay, Patty.
Yeah, my topic is called like I don't know, like impairment and inclusivity. Like I think Andy might have mentioned in the last time that we have taught blind students. So I thought in the class the students have like helpers, teachers that are sitting with them, helping them, but they're just other teachers. I thought it could be a cool idea to maybe have some of our gifted students come in and they could help each other. So like objectives will be like just raise students' awareness about different learning styles with students with impairment. And I thought maybe they could do like activities, they could go out into the community and see if there were any things that help people with impairments. Like on the path, they have like raised, I don't know what they're called, but for blind people when they're walking, they can tell when they're on the path. So that type of thing. And yeah, like going into the classroom with the blind students and helping them and just working together. So like resources, I guess, will be people and time and trying to figure out how we could schedule like a class where the students could be together. Evaluation, like I guess surveys before and after, and like things like maybe a presentation at the end. Students could present what they learned, or they could present like maybe an action plan they could suggest some improvements for the community, or they could suggest some action plan for continued learning or continued work with the blind students if they were working with them on a long-term project.
Wow.
Maybe, I don't know, something like that.
Patty, it's perfect. And your lesson plan is really transformative. It's literally GCED, I think. And your lesson can be project-based learning. It takes time and it takes many resources. I know there will be some limitation as well. But if you try this lesson plan in your class, it would be really wonderful because you can make you and also your students can make some meaningful changes in your community. That's really important. You can start from the small things. So you can partner up with some NGOs in your community or some kind of department at schools who can help you. So Yeah, I think you can start from the small things. That was wonderful. I am very impressed. Thank you. And anyone else? The last volunteer, is there?
Yes, I'll go.
Yes, yes. Yes.
It's gonna be hard to follow Patty up. He just had the most perfect lesson right there. All right. I don't think mine quite hits, I think, in the same way as everyone else does. This has been a lesson I've kind of wanted to try. It's based more on STEM challenge. It's about emergency situations and rescue devices. Kind of like, I think the pedagogy was along the lines of applicable and relevant, locally or globally, just help. I want kids to like actually see what effort it takes to create something safe and be able to save someone. So they would just like create a lowering device using straws and materials in the classroom to create a small rescue device saving someone from the edge of a cliff. And to teach students emergency vocabulary, to have them think on their feet, and also trying to work as a team to help achieve one clear objective to help somebody else. They would just use those materials, create a STEM rescue device within the classroom after learning the different ways that people help each other globally in certain crisis situations, such as the landslides. That one time there was a flood in a cave when students were in there, and just kind of show them how the world can work together to help other people. And then their evaluation towards the very end would be, did they manage to save the person? The person didn't fall off the device, it actually got on there and was able to be saved. And how did the team work together? Like, were they communicating with each other? Were they evaluating the problems? Was someone taking too far control? Like, how well was everyone working together to achieve this objective?
Yes, very interesting. So you are emphasizing the teamwork, right? So the collaboration and working together, learning together. I think it's really it is the key to GCED. So yeah, I like your lesson plan very much, and you also want to expand the class to global level. So it's quite ambitious, but I admire you. It's wonderful. Thank you. So yes. So I will go to the next, but it is the last part of my presentation. Lastly, I would like to introduce some useful online resources. GCED Clearinghouse is an online database. You can find all kinds of resources, news, and events related to GCED here at your fingertip. And GCED Online Campus offers various and interesting online classes on GCED. It is totally free, but some courses are required to register in advance. I used a lot of videos from this website actually for today's presentation. So please visit this website. I recommend you to visit this one. And also, if you are interested in our organization, UpSayU, UNESCO UpSayU, please also visit our official website here. So, all right, this is the end of my presentation. I truly appreciate your participation and attention, and I really hope you enjoyed it. Also, hope you found your own takeaways from this workshop today. Stay healthy and well. Thank you. And if you have any question, please feel free to contact me via this email, or you can ask now. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I think now we have some time to do a few questions, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I actually wrote one down, so if it's okay, I will go first. Way before the break, on the Menti question, many of us, we said that we focus on cognitive domain. And it's important to do social, emotional, and behavioral. I think maybe many of us are curious how we can do that in a very short time. Because cognitive seems very easy, but if you have any advice on how to model those or focus on behavioral and social emotional domains in very short class times.
Yes, Andy, you are absolutely right. It is very difficult to well address the non-cognitive dimensions such as socio-emotional and behavior in a short time. Actually, it's not possible. So, but your class is not one-time class, right? You have your own continuous classes, right?
Yeah, it depends on the program. Sometimes we see kids many times, and sometimes we maybe see them once, and they see every native teacher maybe one time, and then goodbye, have a good life.
I see. In that case, maybe we can emphasize the pedagogy.
Yeah.
So the pedagogy can be like more transformative, more collaborative, like teamwork that the other student was mentioning. So you be better to choosing more transformative pedagogy that encourages students to like take actions or like have some empathy on something. It would be the better way to persuade them to like take part in some kind of activities.
Yeah, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Actually, it's really hard to cover the socio-emotional and behavioral dimension in a short time. It's actually impossible.
That makes me feel better. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we all are very limited with our questions because, like Andy said, all of our lessons are very, very short term. That's why my STEM is based on maybe like I've had mentally just a course that I know runs for enough span of a time for me to actually make that the main objective at the very end. But you did say that cognitive was the most, I think, used probably. Why do you think that is? Because I always thought it would probably be behavior or socio-emotional because you're appealing more to an innate nature. Why do you think cognitive is the more important one?
Cognitive is not the most important one. I think the socio-emotional and behavior dimensions are more important than cognitive.
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say like most important, but like probably you said it was probably the most focused on or most used. That's why a lot of people.
Yes. Because in our conventional classroom setting, it is easy to take the cognitive dimension in classroom teaching, as you know, like memorization and disseminating the knowledge and information. Those things are it belongs to cognitive dimension actually, right? It's easy to teach, right? It's one-way teach actually, right? So teachers are used to teaching in one way, not both sides. So I thought that cognitive area is often taught and well addressed in class, conventional class, but the education trend is changing now. We need to focus more on socio-emotional and behavioral dimensions, non-cognitive dimension. But you mentioned that you are focusing more on socio-emotional and behavior, right? So I was actually really impressed about your teaching. It's not easy, actually. Moving students' mind and values and attitudes, it's not easy. But you are trying to do that in your class. It's wonderful. It's really meaningful, even though it is a short time. But I think that sometime it will impact on students' values and belief systems and their attitude in the long run.
Can you recommend any activity or project for high school club activity? This is long-term.
Long-term activity. I would like to recommend community-based project. We call it 마을 project. The village, we call it 마을, right? So students can make small changes from the place where they are living, right? So they know well about their community, right? So they can plan and they can do some kind of project to solve some kind of issues or problems in their communities. So they can finally contribute to their community's development. So students can learn about how to take action by themselves through these kind of activities. And also they can, this project is also focusing on socio-emotional and behavior dimensions as well. But also they need to have some kind of enough knowledge about their village community. So cognitive dimension is also necessary to be covered.
Related to that question, the last question from Chungju Kang-Hee-jung teacher, and then I have another question. So, the very next week, Monday, we will visit local community center where the students were taken care of after school. So the program is only English program, teaching English with some activity kind of thing, not academic series program. And then could you find out any value with that kind of program or related to global citizenship? Yeah, the English is class, but we are visiting the local community center, the students.
Maybe the content of the textbook they will learn would be very important, because if the content is related to global citizenship education, such as social justice, human rights, or sustainable development or diversity, if the content of the lesson can cover those kind of universal values, then the teachers can implement GCED in their own English class as well, even if it's a short one-time class. I think it will be quite impactful.
Okay, but usually their English level is so low, and then English itself is very challenging. So, but our teachers are English native teachers, so it's very difficult to make up that kind of contents. And, okay.
Yeah, that can be a limitation, but
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, Andy. Andy?
Yes, hello.
Can you close the our workshop?
Yeah, I think are there any final questions? This is your last chance.
Yeah, if you have any question, it is the last chance.
You can email, but
yeah, that's true.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh, sorry, Andy. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Patty.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a question, but we were just kind of talking in the office yesterday just about the topic itself. And because we're teaching now in Korea, but we could be in another country teaching as well. Like when you think about global citizenship education, does it depend on where you're teaching and the kind of society that you're in? And do you kind of need to be aware of the culture, right? It's very important. So does that affect the, I guess, curriculum, and also thinking about, beliefs, and you're talking about values as well. Like, do you need to kind of involve the parents as well? Because a lot of the values come from home, right? So I don't know if that's like a question, but it's just kind of things that we were talking about and thinking about yesterday in the office.
Actually, your point you raised is really important because I think GCED should be contextualized based on the place where you are. So also there are some country very emphasizing national identity more than humanity or solidarity of humanity. In that case, we need to find some kind of entry point to introduce GCED to that students in those kind of country. And so it depends on where you are, I think. So you need to you need to explore the culture or the educational system and the political, societal, religious climate in the country. It is very important, I think, because
sorry.
sorry.
Go on.
Go ahead. No.
No, I was just gonna ask then about you and the work that you do. Would you be going into these different cultures and then making changes accordingly, or developing things accordingly?
Actually, I am in charge of development of GCED curriculum in the developing countries, like some countries in around the world. So I should learn first about their culture, education system, political system, everything to integrate GCED into their national curriculum. So always it depends on the context of the country, and the entry point is it differs by the country's situation, and also we need to know about the emerging issues in their country, and also what kind of imperatives in their country we should know first. So for me, it is of course to apply different strategies depending on the country.
Thank you. It's
You're
interesting.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the workshop. Really, It was really wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, I want to say thank you on behalf of everybody. Your presentation was very clear and organized, and the time went by very fast because it was very fun. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I think before you go, just double check that you did the survey. The first link did not work for me, but the second link did. So if you didn't do the second link, check that out. I sound like a YouTuber. And I think, did I miss anything? I don't think so.
Taking a photo with the 지선미 teacher lecturer. Okay, let's take a group photo. Okay. Make a small heart. Okay. 이한석 teacher 도와주세요. 1, 2, 3. Okay. The next, please. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Sorry. Yeah,
one more time, yeah. Please. He missed the one more time, please.
Please
one more
keep
time.
1 minute.
1 minute. 1 minute is too long. Okay. Okay, can you do? 이현석 teacher. Okay, 1, 2, 3. That's it? 내가 찍는 게 낫겠다. Okay, second, 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, it's very hard to me.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time, teachers. Thank you. Miss G.
Thank you, Andy.
Meaningful and
Thank you very much.
Very much. Bye bye.
Have a nice day.
Thanks,
Bye, teachers. See you again. Okay, you can go out.